In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a blog using Appwrite Cloud Next.js 13, and all of this is going to be really very simple. We are going to use Next.js 13 for keeping things simple on front-end side, and Appwrite Cloud is going to make our life easier on back-end side. How all these things are going to be coordinated is something that I'm going to show you in this video. Let's move on to our computer screen and let's get started. So Appwrite is a backend that can be used for your mobile apps, and it can be integrated to your web app. It can be integrated to anything. The very first step that we are going to take in order to build this project is signing up on Appwrite Cloud. So I'm going to sign up on Appwrite Cloud. You can get the link in the description and you can sign up on Appwrite Cloud by simply visiting that link. Let us sign in with GitHub, or you can also simply click on sign up and enter these information. And I'm going to use a strong password and I will register for Appwrite Cloud. So let's click on sign up and I will get an activation email. So it says join our cloud hackathon. I'm going to click on go to console because I want to directly go to the console and create my first project. So today I'm going to create a blog project using Appwrite Cloud. So let me call it blog and create project. And this project is created. Now, if you're familiar with something like MongoDB, Appwrite Cloud follows kind of the same pattern when it comes to storing data, because in MongoDB, we have database and then we have collections, we have documents. So database, collection, documents, and in Appwrite as well, we have the database, collection, and documents. So here you can see add a platform. So they have an SDK which makes it possible for you to add different platforms for your applications. You can have a Flutter app which is connected to this backend. This is a single backend. Flutter app will be connected to this backend. Web app will be connected to this backend. Apple app will be connected to this backend, and the same backend can be used to connect your Android app as well. So this feature is actually great and it makes Appwrite very easy to use. Plus it makes your application very easy to manage. I'll show you how. Let's click on web app and let's connect a web app. I'm going to call this Next.js 13 because I'm going to use Next.js 13 for my blog app. And I'm going to type localhost in the host name. Now this host name is required because you are going to use localhost to connect to this backend. If you are going to use something else, you can add these star.netlify.app or gitpod.io or Wurzel.app if you are planning to connect your backend from these domains. But since I'm going to use localhost, I'll type localhost and I'll simply click next. After that, I'll install Appwrite, which is compulsory. But before we continue here, let's go to Google and type Next.js 13 app. I'm going to use the create next app to create my Next.js 13 app. I'm going to click on installation, or I think I should enter this. Let's create a new folder, or let's simply open a terminal inside Code Playground. So if you are familiar with how I work on my code base, I have a folder called Code Playground which contains my code base, and I'm opening a terminal on Code Playground and I will create a new Next app inside this Code Playground folder. So let's copy this command and let's paste it, and it will ask me the name of the app. I'll say blog Appwrite. No, I don't want to use TypeScript. I'm going to keep the default options, and this is going to install React, React DOM, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, Auto Prefixer, and I'm going to use Tailwind CSS for this project. So let's simply wait, and I waited for some time, and as you can see, we have successfully created a project called blog Appwrite. I will simply cd into that folder, cd blog Appwrite, blog-appwrite, and let me type code dot so that I have VS Code open with this folder. As you can see, we have created this folder, and the next step that I'm going to take is opening a terminal. Let me open this terminal as a tab. If you don't know, you can use you can simply drag the terminal to your editor and it can be opened as a tab, which in my opinion is very, very convenient. Let's come back to this page and let's copy this and install Appwrite. So npm install Appwrite. You can either use this terminal or you can even use this terminal. Okay, anything is fine. And let's copy this and let's import client from Appwrite. I'll show you when and where this is useful, but let's copy this. Or even if you are not planning to copy this, simply click next. I have copied it and I'm going to create a file, and let me use this page.js. Let's import everything here. So import client from Appwrite, and let's copy this as well. And let me do one thing. I want to keep this Google Chrome opened in desktop 2, and I want to open this VS Code in desktop 1. So I can do this to switch tabs. Okay, let's copy this. Client is equal to new client, and this is the endpoint, and this is my project ID. Okay, let's click next, and after clicking next, I'll say take me to the dashboard. So I'm on my dashboard, which shows me what bandwidth I'm using and how many requests are made, etc. Okay, let's click on this Next.js 13 web app, and I can update the host name, I can delete this platform, and I can do whatever I want. Okay, there are a bunch of different options, and there is this API keys tab as well. I can create an API key and I can start working with my backend. Okay, so these are all the functions that can be used with Appwrite Cloud, but let me show you very basic function. Firstly, we are going to create a database. Let's create a database. I'm going to call this blog. Let's click on create, and let's create a collection inside of blog, and let's name this collection as blog as well. Okay, now I will click on documentation, and this documentation will help me add documents to the database. So if you want to add a document to the database, all you need to do is simply copy this. I'm going to copy this, or rather this. Let's copy this, and after pasting it here, I'm going to copy my project ID, database ID, and collection ID. I'll show you where to get the project ID, database ID, and collection ID from. So let me click backspace, and database is equal to new database. Let me cut this import and paste it at the top, and client database ID from Appwrite. Let us go back and click collection ID to copy the collection ID. The collection ID is copied. Let's paste it here, and also let's go back and click database ID to get the database ID, and let's paste the database ID here. So what basically we are doing is we are creating a new document inside of our blog database. Okay, so we have a blog database, and we have a collection called blog, and we are adding some documents to this. So let's create an attribute. So attribute key can be anything. Let's call it title, and let's make it string. Yes, it is required. The size, let us say 34, and let's click create. Then I'm going to create another attribute, and I am going to I'm going to create an attribute. So I'll click on attributes, create attribute. I'll say content, and let's keep the content as string, and yes, it is required. Size is 1233. Okay, now I can create a document like this. I can say title is, say, I am a title, and then content is I am content. Okay, now I can start my Next.js app by simply running npm run dev, and our Next.js app will start. So I can click on localhost 3000, and this app will start. As you can see, this app has started, and I can reload this page. And if I show you my database documents, let's reload, and reloading did not add any document to this database. Let me see what is wrong here. So we have the project ID, we have the document ID, everything. Now the problem is that the current user is not authorized to perform the requested action. So let's see what the problem is. And the problem is that if I go to settings, I have not given permission to everyone for creating, reading, deleting on the database. So let's create a role. So I'm going to say any, and let's give permission for read, update, create, and delete. Ideally you will not do that, but again, I'm doing this for demonstration purpose. Let's now try it out, and let's try to restart the server npm run dev, and let us see how this looks like. So let's reload this page and I'll show you whether the documents are coming in the database or not. And yes, they are. So if I reload this once again, I'll see yet another document and so on, as you can see. So there is another document and there are documents being added to our block collection because we have directly written this here. So we are now ready to add content to the database. Okay. And this is the code for doing the same. So in order to create a blog, I'm going to create a very simple application with no authentication. I'm going to simply create a page which will show the list of all the blogs. And the second thing that I'm going to show you is the page which will contain a particular blog. Okay, so let's try to refine things a bit. I'm going to simply go back to my blog collection and let's add attributes to this blog. So we have title, we have content. Let's add a slug as well. Slug is going to be string. Yes, it will be required. And the size is going to be say 50 or 60. Let's click create and let's now comment this out. I'm going to comment this out because I don't want a document to be added to the database whenever I am hitting the index page. Let's come back to this index page and let's try to write some code inside this index page. I'm going to keep things very, very simple. I'm not going to focus much on UI at this point, but on the home page, I want all the blocks to be listed. So I'm going to create a state. So import use state from React, and I'm going to create a state and use state snippet. Blogs, set blogs is equal to an empty array. Okay, so I'm going to keep an empty array here and let's return a div and let's type hey. I want to keep things very simple at this point. Let's see if things are working. It says that you are importing a component that needs use state. So by default all the components are server components in Next.js 13, so we'll have to say use client. Okay, and it should work now. So hey is being shown here. Let's come back to our public folder. No, I want to see where the styles are. Inside my apps there is a file called global.css. I want to remove all these styles except the Tailwind CSS code, and it will make my page as white. I'm now going to go to tailblocks.cc, and inside tailblocks.cc I'm going to copy a header. So I'm going to copy a header very quickly, and then I'll grab a code for footer as well. So let's try to add header to this page. Ideally you will want to use a nav bar, but let me keep it very quick. And since I'm demonstrating Appwrite here, I'll paste this header here. Let's right click, change all occurrences, and let's change this to class name instead of class. And let's also change all these stroke dash, and I want to make the first character after stroke dash as capital. So let's select this and right click, command palette, transform to uppercase. I'm doing this because the thing is that stroke dash line cap is not valid in React, so I'll have to remove this dash and make the character right after stroke dash as uppercase, and we'll get rid of all the errors. You'll see some errors if you are not doing this. Okay, but since I am doing this, I will not get any errors, and if I get any errors, I know how to solve them. All right, so we have tail blocks, first link, second link. Let's see if we have some template for showing the block content. I'm simply searching for some good template for the blog content. Okay, this looks pretty good, but let's see if we can find something better. This looks good as well, but I'm simply searching for something better. Okay, so this is looking even better to me. Let's keep this on hold and let's see if we find something better than this. Okay, so this is finals. This is something that I really like. Let's turn on the word wrap, view word wrap. Okay, and after header I want to add this section, and let's fix this HTML to React thing. We'll have to add these slashes in order for this to work. And now let's see if this is added to our app or not. Yes, our app looks pretty good, but instead of this, I want to write the name of my blog. Let us say the name of the blog is The Coding Thunder, and let's go to ChatGPT and generate something. ChatGPT to the rescue, and let's say generate meta description for a blog titled The Coding Thunder. Okay, it will generate something for me, and I'm going to copy this and paste it to my app. Okay, and yes, this looks pretty good. Let's use this card as a template, and let's see if we can somehow fix this. So we have a single card at this point, and I want to map through the blogs.map and title, blogs.map and item, and let's cut this and let's return this. And item.content and then item.title, and I think this should look good. But again, I want to do one more thing. I want to make sure that blogs are populated. So how do we make sure that the blogs are populated? Let's cut this and let's put it inside use effect snippet. This is a use effect snippet, and I want this to run whenever this page is loaded, and let's uncomment this out. So we are creating a new client. Then I'm going to do client.set endpoint and client.set project. Let's also keep this outside the home function. Then we have the database. Then we have create document. Instead of doing create document, I want to make sure that I promise is equal to databases dot, I want to list documents, and let's see if we can do something. So we need database ID, collection ID, and then query. So let's add these two values, and I think we should be good here. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's see if we are getting this on the console. So let's reload this page and let's see if we are getting the response on the console, and let's see what we get on the console. So it says console.log expected, comma. Is there some issue here? Let me see if there is an issue here. So let's reload this page and let's see if there is anything wrong here. So invalid DOM property class name, we'll fix this. We'll fix this in a while. And then it says can't resolve encoding. Okay. And let's see if we are getting the result in the console or not. Okay, we are getting this result on the console. So there are some documents which we can see on the console. So let's do one thing. Let's say that blogs is equal to response.document. So set blogs response.documents, and let's see whether we are able to see our blogs or not. So yes, we are able to see the blogs. So I am content. Let's see if we are able to add some more content, and if we are able to add some more content, it should be visible here. So let's go back to Appwrite, and let's see if we are able to add some documents and see them here. So create document, I'll say intro to JavaScript, and then hey, this is intro to JavaScript, intro to JS, and let's say create, and let's reload, And yes, we can see this intro to JavaScript document here. I want to make sure that the content of this page is not fully displayed here. So I'll say dot sub str 0 to 12, so that only a part of this content is visible here. And then we'll say some triple dots like this, and this looks pretty good. We can also set an image link or something, but let's keep it for later. Let's now go to the internet and search for random image API. Let's see if we can get a random image. src is equal to random dot image cdn dot app. Let's see if we can replace this with the random image. We couldn't find that photo. Not sure why it shows this, but a simple API for serving random images, I think it doesn't work. cdn.app. Let's see. I'm just trying to make it work. Okay, so images.unsplash.com. This is how it is going to work. Let's give it a height of 23 and width of 23. Generate link. Okay, so this is something that we can use. I'm just trying to make it work. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it does work, but it shows the same image. And how about this? And now I will add an attribute called image. Let me choose the attribute type as a URL. And as you can see, I have restarted my VS Code. I'm going to run my server once again. Oops, I ran the wrong command. No worries, I meant to run npm run dev, and let's run the development server to see how things have changed. So image is an attribute, and let's add image attribute to some of the documents. So image is a URL, so let's add URL to some image, URL to images. Images royalty free. Let's see if we can get links to the images somehow. Let me try this one. I want to keep things really very simple, which is why I'm going for very simple images. But ideally for your production projects, you are going to go for the real images. Okay, so let's see if this image has a URL. Yes, it does. So let's add this and update. It says invalid document structure, missing required attribute slug. Okay, so let me change this to title, and let's update image, and let's see if we reload this whether image is pulled from the database or not. It does. It is pulled from the database, which means that we are able to change a document. So Appwrite's cloud.appwrite.io dashboard can be used as a backend if you don't have a dashboard. But again, ideally for a bigger app, you will want to have an app which has a dashboard, but you can always update data from here. You can update permissions from here, which is an amazing feature in my opinion. So let's also give this one a slug, and let's give it some different image. I want to change the image this time. So I'll say copy image address, and I will update the image address. Let me go back and let me do the same for other documents as well. So let's grab some other image links and let's give it some random slug. I know these slugs, they don't look very good, but ideally for your apps, you are going to have very meaningful slugs. So copy image address again, and let's paste it here, and let's call this slug4 or something. Okay, and let me use the same image for this one as well, intro to JS, and see it takes effect immediately. So all the images are updated and this blog looks pretty good. So let's change this tail blocks to Coding Thunder. Coding Thunder. Thunder. And this will change to Coding Thunder. Also, you can change these links like home, about us or something. So you can say home, and then you can say about us, and then you can say contact us, and so on. So this is something that you can always do. Okay, and let's say blog, and let me keep blog above contact us, and let me get rid of this button. I don't know why I don't like this button. Okay, and as you can see, your navigation bar looks pretty good. Is there anything else that we can do to make it more better in terms of functionality? The answer is yes. So I'll say import link from next link. Now what this next link will do is, instead of these anchor tags, we'll use link, and we'll use href is equal to, let us say, slash, and let's also change the closing tag to link. Okay, and let's change this to about, and then blog, and then contact. And you can create these pages such that you can access these links. So in order to create these pages, all you need to do is create folders. Say if I create a folder called about, and if I add a React server component, and the moment I click on about, I'll come to this page. Now you can always edit and work on this page, but at this point I'm not working on this page. Rather, I'm going to work on another page, which is blog post. Okay, so right inside app folder, I will create a folder called blog post, and inside this blog post I will say page.js. And in order to help myself with how to create a dynamic page, I'll say Next.js 13 dynamic routes, and I'll come to the documentation of dynamic routes. So since I'm using the app router, not pages router, I'll change it to app router. And as you can see here, that I can say app/blog/slug/page.js. So this is something that you can always do in order to get the slug. So they have used the same example. So inside of the blog post, I will have to create yet another folder called slug, and inside this slug folder I'll create this page.js, and inside this page.js I can always get these values. So let me see how this is going to work. Okay, so blog slug page.js, and these params will hold these values, I guess. So let's say RAFCE, and let's use params, and let's see if params contain anything. Params, and let's do json.stringify params, and let's see what prints on the screen. Okay, so let's say /blog post/p, and I want to see if this blog post /slug works or not. It doesn't work for some reason. Okay, so I misspelled blog post, and if I say /blog post/p, slug p is written here, which is amazing. So I can get the slug by params.slug. So const slug is equal to params.slug, and I need not do this. Let me open a fragment, and inside of this fragment I can have the nav bar as well as page content. So let me copy this header as is. Ideally you will create a component for this header, but since this is a very basic app, I'm just demonstrating you by copy pasting, and with a warning that you must create a component if you are trying to create a header. Okay, all right, so we have this header, and then I will go to tailblocks.cc. Okay, so it says link is not defined, so import link from next link. This should work. Okay, coding thunder, the nav bar is here. And how should I structure my blog post is something that I'm figuring out. What if I show the heading here and then the content below this heading, something of that sort, right? So without thinking much about it, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to simply copy this code, copy to clipboard, and I'm going to paste this section. And at the same time, I want to remove these get it on Google Play and these things. let me see how it looks. So it looks like this, and download on Play Store, button SVG span. So let me get rid of this div. Let's get rid of this div and see how it looks. Okay, so this is going to be the title of my page, and let me also see if I do lorem 23 how it looks. So it's going to look like this. I think this is an amazing setup for a blog, and I'm very happy with how it looks. So let's do one thing. Let's try to pull the blog by slug from Appwrite. So I'm going to use the same imports. So let's try to use the same imports, and let's create this as a client component. Oops, I accidentally closed it. No worries. And then I'm going to, instead of blogs, I'll say blog. So I need to pull one blog, the first blog. So set blog is equal to use state, and blog is going to be an object, an empty object. Okay. And inside use effect, we want to make sure that we are pulling only the blog that we need. Okay. So let's copy this use effect and let's tweak it. Let's tweak this use effect code. So let me get rid of this. So instead of document databases.list documents, I want to give it a filter. I think I can give it a query filter and say slug should be slug. And let's see what the response is. So response is locked to the console. Let's reload it, and also I need to make sure that this is a client component. So you will have to add this use client at the top, and let's see what it has to say in the console. So there are some errors. It says client is not defined. Okay, so client is not defined. It's a very genuine error because I have not defined the client, and now it should work. All right, so let's see what's there in the console. It says 400. Let me see what's wrong here. 400 databases queries is equal to object plus object. So this is the slug and list documents. Let's see what are the parameters that we can provide to list documents. So database ID is string, collection ID is string, and data is. So we'll have to define the query like this. So query is used by typing query.equal. So let's try to copy this, and let's also import query from Appwrite. So we are going to import query as well. So we imported query, and this is not how we provide the query. Rather, we provide the slug like this. So let's make it a little bigger, and let's say slug and slug, and let's see if this works. Okay, and it says value must be a valid array and value must be a valid string and no longer there 4096 characters. Okay, and the query should be an array like this. So let's provide an array of queries instead of just a query. So let's provide an array to this, and it says index not found slug, index not found slug. Okay, so index not found because this slug is not valid. So let me call this title and let's see if it is able to pull something. Index not found slug. So slug is title here, and it should pull this document from the database. Let's see what's wrong here. So in order for this to work, we'll have to create an index. So let's come back to our collection, and let's come back to indices, and let's create an index. And index type is key, and the attribute we want to create index on is slug, and order is ascending. Let's create this index, and this index is successfully created. And now if I reload, it works. So you can say total 0, documents array 0. So there is no document which was pulled, which is something that we'll have to look into. But again, this works at this point. So slug is not equal to this params.slug value. We'll have to see what is wrong here. So let me try this for slug and slug4, and yes, one document is pulled from the database. So all we need is, we will have to get the first document. So we'll say dot documents 0. So we are going to set the blog as response.documents0, which is going to be your blog, and then this will be blog.content, blog.content, and this is going to be and let me say blog question mark dot content, so that we don't get any error if a blog is not defined. And let's also say blog dot title, and let's call this as the coding thunder. Okay, so yes, the blog is pulled from the database. So if I say I am a title, I am a content, this content is visible, which is amazing. So instead of going to the blog, we'll have to go to the home page and all the blogs are visible. And I will do one thing. I will change the links to the valid links. Let me show you what this means. So whenever somebody clicks on the title or on this card, I'm going to add a link. So let me add a link and let me say link href is equal to, let's cut this and let's say slash blog post slash, and we are going to add the slug. So we'll say plus item dot slug, and I think this should work. Okay, so whenever I click on this title, I should go to this page. Yes, it is showing me the blog content. And all of these blog contents, they look very basic. They don't look like realistic blog content. But let me add a realistic blog content as well. So let's add a blog post which actually makes sense. So let's try to go to intro to JS in one blog. And I don't know whose blog this is, but this is, whatever I'm doing is for learning purposes and it's on my local, so I'm not copying anybody's blog. Let's add this title, and I'm going to add the content as well. So let me add this content as well, and I know it is not going to be as structured as this one because I'm not using HTML or markdown or something, but I pasted the content here, and I'm going to give the slug as intro to JS and blog. Let me add blog, and let's also add an image. I'm going to copy this image. So let's right click, and I'm not able to copy this image. What is the URL of this image? So looks like the uploader doesn't want me to access this image, but sorry developer, I will anyway access your image. Next, document security is disabled, so I just clicked on create, and this blog is created. So let's reload this page and let's see if we are able to access this blog or not. Now if you change this to markdown and if you allow more characters, you can structure the blog however you want, and you can also have comments, and you can, in a very similar way, use user authentication of Appwrite to power your blog. So I hope that you like this video and now you are capable of creating a blog using Appwrite. In a very similar way, you can create your backend using Appwrite and connect it with your Android app or anything of your choice. So I think this is a great choice when it comes to creating quick blogs, production applications, or even apps, or if you want to have everything connected to one backend. And this is very useful when you want to have everything connected to a single backend, like your app to the same backend and your web app to the same Appwrite backend, and so on. So I hope you loved this video and you will explore different ways to create different applications using Appwrite. Thank you so much guys for watching this video, and I will see you next time.